Yo, what is up guys? It's Pedro here, and in today's video I want to talk about the huge, drama that came out about the Washington Commanders possibly going back to their old name, the Washington Redskins. Also, I want to talk about a new helmet and new alternate uniform that will be dropping in 2 days. If you guys are new, make sure to subscribe, hit that like button, and that notification bell as well so you never miss a video. Glad to be back home. If you guys saw the video yesterday, talked about, back from the hospital. So again, like I said, great to be back. Appreciate all of you guys' well wishes. But yeah, we're back at it and making videos for you guys right away. And today there was some news, and not getting political or anything. I'm just reading exactly what was said today in the news, and that was that President Donald Trump says the Washington Commanders should change their name back to the Redskins, and that it should never have been changed in the first place. And I believe there was some stadium talk as well, because that has gone a little bit, sideways for the Commanders. It hasn't, there hasn't been a lot of momentum building towards it in terms of the stadium being, the deal being finalized, which is unfortunate because, it seemed like we were getting in that direction, but, it just, goes down and down sometimes. Sometimes, the news is good and then sometimes it's bad. It kind of goes back and forth, back and forth. So recently, like I said, there's been some bad news, and obviously, DC has to decide, it's an agreement between DC and, the Commanders. So a lot of people are involved. I'm sure, Josh Harris is involved, the whole Commanders organization, the mayor of DC, the president. I'm sure they're all involved in trying to make this deal happen. And some sides want something, some sides want others. Like I said, I don't really know, in terms of, what each side wants, but I think that this deal will get done at some point. But in terms of the name, I think at this point we're a little far gone in terms of getting the, old name back, the, new regime. And, Josh Harris, he's been here for 2 years. I think if something would have happened, it would have happened at this point. And with the Commanders doing well, I just think that there's no necessarily, there's not a huge reason to change the name back. I know a lot of people liked it. I was used to it myself, still have all my gear. And, it took a while to get used to the name change, going from Washington Redskins to Washington Football Team to Washington Commanders. And I'm sure going back to, the old name wouldn't be a hard adjustment for a lot of people. But there's always going to be that drama. There's going to be drama regardless, because, even in the fan base right now with the Commanders, there's a lot of people that want them to go back to their old name. And I'm sure if they do go back to the old name, there will be a lot of people saying, what, they shouldn't be, playing under this name. So, even President Trump said that, if they win, it kind of, changes things a little bit and makes it a little bit quieter in terms of the name front. If, they're winning, people aren't really going to care. And that's kind of what I've been saying for a while, is that, if the Commanders continue to win, there's no reason to bring back the Redskins name, despite how many people like it, and stuff like that. It just has that drama that is never going to go away. It doesn't matter how you feel about it. It's just that drama is not going to go away. So it is unfortunate, for the people that want the Redskins name to be back. Of course, I love the name at the time, and I know it has its issues. We're not even going to get into that because that's like 4 or 5 years old at this point. We know what the deal with it is. But, TMZ reported that it's not going to happen. The, old name's not going to come back, despite what the president said today. Some of the fans have wanted. I think the perfect bridge is what they're going to be doing in the, next year or two. So this is from SJM, and the Washington Commanders are dropping a new helmet and new uniform on July 9th. So 2 days from today, they will use them as alternates for 2025 and then make them official for the 2026 season. That's what the reports are. We'll wait and see for what actually happens. But I think that is cool. And let me read this right here. So, our sources have indicated that Washington Commanders will be the first to reveal a new alternate helmet and jersey on July 9th. This is from Kevin Sheehan, and suggests they'll resemble the Redskins era uniforms and will become a part of a full uniform redesign in 2026. This process must be very similar to how the New York Jets wore their New York Sack Exchange, blah blah blah, and then whatever. So for me, I don't know what they're gonna exactly look like. Seems like the helmet is going to be at least have the W on it from what they have on the mock-up. That's kind of what I'm getting from it. But then I think, everything else in terms of the jersey will resemble the old jerseys a little bit more because, jerseys aren't the end of the world for me, but I do think they matter. I don't like the current jerseys, and it's really because, I like, the burgundy is fine. Obviously, that's what we like, but I wish the numbers were white instead of gold. I like the white numbers like they were in the past, and I think it just makes the jerseys look a lot better and cleaner than red and gold jerseys. I think burgundy and gold versus, the burgundy and white numbers, and obviously you'd still have gold on the uniform, but like you look at just like RG3, Redskins, like look at his jersey versus what they are now. It's just, I don't know. I like it now a lot better. I like it what it was before a lot more than it is now with the, white and then gold around the numbers. I think is the way to go. And then on the sides, you can have a little bit of gold too. So you can still incorporate the gold. And then with the white jerseys, you can have the burgundy inside. And then, again, not much gold. And I don't like, if we look at the current Commanders uniforms, they have almost, let's see, like the white ones, I just don't like it because it's like almost like a gradient, and you don't have it doesn't look the same burgundy, even though it technically on the color scheme is the same burgundy. It doesn't look like it because it's a gradient. It's not fully, colored in. So let's see, white ones. It's just not fully colored in. So like it doesn't look awful, but again, it doesn't look the absolute best, and it just doesn't look fully like the burgundy that they've used in the past because of the gradient, in my opinion. Like you cannot tell me this Sean Taylor jersey looks like, his jersey from, when he played here in Washington in 2005, Redskins Sean Taylor jersey. It just doesn't look the same at all. Like let's compare that versus that. It's just very different. Like obviously they have different, somewhat different designs with, the new uniforms, which that stuff I don't really care about. Like the 3 stars on the back, whatever, that's cool. Those small details, I don't think it matters too much if you want to, incorporate those into new uniforms. But the color schemes, I think, need to be similar to the OG jerseys, or, for me, OG jerseys, like the 2000 jerseys, 2000s and 2010s. Keep it similar to that. Maybe they want to go to, the Joe Gibbs era type, and there's one of my videos popping up. But like if we just go, sorry, I don't know why out of all the pictures I clicked on to the Carson Wentz one, but if you look at right here, believe that's Mark Ripien, but you look at the jerseys here, and again, it's similar to what it was in the 2000s. So for me, that's kind of what you want it to look like. Just make it look a little bit more modern, and that's kind of what it was in the 2000s and stuff, 2000s, 2010s. I think it was a good uniform. I think, they messed it up with the release. It is what it is. It's not a big deal, and, that's why I'm talking about it right now, because, we don't have a lot to talk about. Training camp is, over 2 weeks away, so we still have a while until some football starts. So I do, want to talk about some of this stuff, and obviously when the new uniform comes out on the 9th, I will definitely be making a video about that. I'm excited to see what it looks like, and might have to cop a jersey, have a Jaden Daniels jersey, but after that, we'll see. I mean, I have a Terry jersey, but in terms of the new players, I don't know who my next jersey will be. I'm liking Mike Sanders still, Frankie Lulu, got one for my dad, and might need to either use that jersey sometimes or just get a new one. And then, we'll see who steps up this year for the Commanders. Maybe Josh Connerly, maybe Larry Tunsil, maybe Debo Samuel. There's a lot of guys that, maybe could step up. So comment down below, who is your next jersey purchase for the Washington Commanders? But that is it for today's video. Hope you guys did enjoy. If you did, hit that like button, subscribe if you guys new, and peace.